This is Blind Ham News with stories of interest to blind and visually impaired hams. With today's report, here is Steve Bauer, W0QA.
This is Blind Ham News podcast number 3. As hams, we are all proud of our call signs. And in some cases, some of us are known more by our call sign than our name. So I wanted to find out what is special about your call sign. Why did you get it? And how do you display it? So here are some of the stories that we have received here at the Blind Ham News podcast. I will quickly tell you my call sign story. I was first licensed as a technician in August 1972. The FCC gave me the call, Whiskey Bravo 0 India India Yankee, WB0IIY. Hated that call sign. Didn't like it at all. When I upgraded to General, of course I had no choice but to stay with it. But when I upgraded to the Advanced, remember the old Advanced before they took it away, that was in 1982, the FCC gave me a call of Kilowatt Charlie 0 Hotel Foxtrot KC0HF, which was a pretty darn cool call sign. In 1986, when I upgraded to Extra, I, first of all, didn't change. I kept the KC0HF, but my very best friend, Larry, W0QA, kept saying, you need a 1x2. So he got on and found call signs, and the one he found, which kind of tied me to him, being W0KA, W0QA was available, and that's what I wound up with. So let's hear some more stories from some fellow hams about their call signs.
This is Robert, November Charlie 5 Romeo. This is a vanity call, which I obtained not too long after getting my amateur extra license. The NC, or November Charlie, stands for North Carolina, where I grew up, and also where I attended school at the University of North Carolina. Go Tar Heels. The 5 is, of course, my area here in Texas where I live. The R stands for Robert. This is November Charlie 5 Romeo 73.
Hello, my name is Jessica. My call sign is KE8UPE, Kilo Echo 8, Uniform Papa Echo. I am a fairly new ham. I got my technician license in April of 2022. The call sign I have currently is my original, and I like it, so I probably won't change it. I do have a bunch of stuff with my call sign on it, including a wooden plaque that sits on my desk in my home office, a keychain, my phone case, and, yes, an email address. 73 to all from KE8UPE.
This is Patrick, N2DYI. I was originally licensed as KE4DYI back in the summer of 1993 when I was 9 years old, or as I pronounced it back then, KE4DYI. KE4DYI. Yes, I was very proud of that call sign, and in 1995 when I heard on Amateur Radio Newsline that the FCC would soon start issuing vanity calls, my first thought was,
oh man, I'm not going to change my call. I'm going to be KE4DYI forever.
Yeah, I probably said it something like that. I mean, I was from the South after all. And I kept this promise to myself for 26 years. In 2014, I moved to New York City. I wasn't very active on any of the bands at the time, but the more I became active, the more odd it felt to me to be a 4 in 2 land. This hasn't mattered since I think 1976 or so, but it just felt wrong. I didn't want to give up the DYI. It just didn't seem right to not have DYI. So I was talking to the late, great Chris Miller in E5V on WhatsApp one night, and I brought up this conundrum, and he said, well, in that way that he had, N2DYI is available. And I said, really? That's pretty cool. I live in 2 land, it's still DYI, and it's shorter. Win-win. So in September of 2021, I broke the promise that I made to myself as an 11-year-old kid.
Oh, man.
And I changed my call sign from KE4DYI to N2DYI. So what does it mean? Well, nothing really. DYI can stand for whatever you want it to. Drive you insane, double your income, drop your iPhone, dynamic young individual, whatever. More importantly, it's just me. I don't have any merch, I don't have any hats or badges or anything like that, although I did have a pint-sized t-shirt. that had my original call on it from when I was an extra small, ultra skinny, even for my age, 9-year-old. Wish I still had that. It was cute. You could put it on a doll. So I always come back to this. It's Chris's fault that I have this call, really. He told me it was available. I don't know why I didn't think to look it up. So oftentimes when I say, this is N2DYI, I think about Chris. So that's the story of N2DYI 7-3.
And I will have more ham radio call sign stories in an upcoming episode of the Blind Ham News Podcast.
Have a story or information to submit for the podcast? Send it by email to blindhamnews@gmail.com or call 662-426-6397. That's 662-HAM-NEWS. Thanks for your help.
I'm Steve W0QA, and that's the report this time. I hope you can join me again for another Blind Ham News Podcast 73, and thanks for listening.